Today, May the 23rd, today is the 10th day in the Satipatthana meditation retreat. On previous day, I talked about three sets of dangers for three sets of danger of Kanika Samadhi. So when these six things arise, the Samadhi will be weak, it will be hindered. So the first pair, Adidanudavananchitam Vikepanupaditam, the mind that goes on the past is followed by distraction. Or in other words, the mind that goes to the past experiences fall into distraction. So in meditation, the mind tends to remember or go on to what has been seen, heard, tasted, touched, or experienced some time ago in the worldly sense also. And also, in the practice also, yogi tend to think what happened a minute ago, 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, an hour ago, the day before, and so on, connected with the practice. Sometimes yogi tend to think, did I note it well? Or was my noting not concurrent? Or was my faculties not balanced? Or was it a nama or was it a rupa? So in this way, sometimes yogi thinks about his or her noting, his or her experience in the last sitting or yesterday's sitting or a moment ago. Sometimes yogi tend to compare his or her own experience. Last sitting was good. How come it's not now? So in this way, yogi tend to think about the past. It is distraction. Sometimes yogi also think what to report. So sometimes yogi think what is the word to describe my practice. So in this way, yogi tend to think about the practice also, the past experiences, and sometimes yogi even think about the past experiences that he or she had in the last retreat. Please do not be thinking about the past, even if it is about practice. And don't be comparing because no two sittings can be the same. Even the object that arose in the last moment is not the same as the one that is taking place now. So not to be comparing, not to be thinking back, because thinking back is distraction. When that happens, if you feel distracted, note it distracted, thinking, and go back to noting on the presently arising object. Anagata patikankana citta vikampita. The mind that longs for the future is shaken. So in the meditation, sometimes the mind go over what has not taken place yet, planning, what to do next. Also thinking what one will do after. Also in meditation, yogi sometimes think what to note. I will note like this, like that. It's thinking already. The mind is not concentrated anymore. It's shaken. Sometimes when the yogi is being mindful, have some good experiences, yogi come to think what's next, what experiences will come next. So that is also longing for the future, and the mind is shaken. So when yogi notices his or her mind thinking about the future, whether it is the worldly thing or whether even if it is connected with the practice, if you notice the mind is thinking about the future, note it, thinking, thinking, planning, planning, and afterward, come back to note on the presently arising object, such as rising, falling, and so on. So, briefly, do not think about the past, do not think of the future. Past is already gone, and future, it has not taken place yet. So, don't not to be thinking about it. What is certain is the present moment. To keep the mind on the presently arising object, to note it so that one discerns what is there in the object that has been noted. The next pair, Lina Chaita Kosaja Nupatita. Lina Chaita means withdrawn mind. Withdrawn mind is accompanied by laziness, or in other words, withdrawn mind fall into laziness. So what it means by lina chitta, withdrawn mind, is that sometimes one tends to get bored in the practice, feeling exhausted, not wanting to exert effort, wanting to take easy in the practice, want to be in an easygoing manner. That is a withdrawn mind. It is followed by laziness. Kosaja in Pali is laziness. So the meaning of the word kosaja, kusita bhavo kosaja, meaning it is the act or the state of lazy, indolent person. Kusita means detestable. Wise people detest the ones who are lazy, not wanting to exert effort. So the meaning kusita bhavo kosaja mean laziness. It is the state of a lazy, indolent person. So when the mind tends to be withdrawn, not wanting to take, not wanting to exert effort, it falls into laziness. When that happens, one needs to stimulate one's mind. One needs to encourage oneself, as well as the person need to be encouraged by Kalyana Mita, and also to arouse the energy. So in the sub commentaries, there are 11 ways of arousing energy. I will go through a few of them. It is also mentioned in the book by the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw. One of them is to reflect on the danger of apaya, the danger of four lower existences. Once being born in lower existences, such as hell, there has been constant suffering, being burned, and there is no chance at all to do any wholesome deed in the hell. And also, animals, even they may be a lovable pet in somebody's home, but they cannot talk, they cannot say what they're going through. Even they are being pampered, but it's quite limited. They also do not have chance to do wholesome deeds except in exceptional cases. Data. If a person is if a person passes away with attachment, the person can go into the existence of a beta. Sometimes also in Myanmar we hear people talking. Sometimes somebody passes away, but still the family sometimes hear some noises or have some smell, or sometimes the same thing that the disease used to do, it seems there is something still doing it in the house. So that kind of thing happen when a person at the last moment has some attachment that he or she not let go, sometimes being attached in the family member or sometimes being attached in the property. If born as a beta, it's also very suffering unless the family of the deceased do some merit and dedication to the departed and share the merit. If they can rejoice in the merit, they can uh, go into better existences. But otherwise, the beta, they have very less food or clothing. So when you come to reflect the danger of falling into the fire, then there will be the urgency to practice diligently because as a Putojana, there is no assurance. As a worldly being, there is no assurance. But by practicing Satipatthana meditation, when the person had attained at least the first part and fruition knowledge, there is assurance that he or she will never go into these lower existences. So, in this way, reflecting the danger of falling into Aya, one can arouse one's effort in the practice. So, in this way, when the mind is slack, one must energize one's mind. The next one is Patipaka Hitan Chaitan Bodhaja Nupatita, meaning overexerted mind. Overexerted mind or overstrained mind is followed by restlessness. Or in other words, overexerted mind, overstrained mind fall into restlessness. Sometimes yogi tends to be more energetic than needed, exceedingly energetic. Sometimes yogi tends to think, uh, I will note everything. And if this come, I will note this. In this way, the thoughts arise how he or she will be practicing onward. It is also restlessness, overexerted energy. It doesn't make it improve because it needs to be balanced. Like I said the other day, if we will take 100% effort, it shouldn't be 110 or 120. It should be just right. So the example can be given of a harp that has the strings. If the string of the harp is too tight, then it wouldn't make good tune. If the harp string is too loose, then it also doesn't make good tune. The string of the harp should be just right so that it will be just right. So in the same way, in the practice, the effort it should not be slackened. It should not be too it should not be excessive. It should be just right. So also another example, in the olden days, we have the kind of radio where we have to turn the knob to get to the correct radio station. If we turn too much, then we slip away and then we will not get to the correct radio station. And then if we don't turn enough, it will also fall short. So in the same way, just like fine tuning in the old fashioned radio, in the same way, we need to tune our effort. It should not be slack. It should not be excessive. So this, because if the effort is slack, if the effort is less than that is needed, the mind falls short of the target. If we put excessive effort more than needed, the mind overshoots the target. So that's why one should put the effort that is just right. So the last pair, the Pinatan Chitta Raganupatita. Pinata Chitta means over inclined mind. For example, when a yogi has good experiences, the yogi even tend to want better experiences. So in this way, when it happens, it falls into greed. So that's why as a yogi, when good experiences come, do not want, do not be liking or do not be expecting more better experiences. If it happened, then greed arises and the practice cannot be as smooth. Sometimes yogi might notice from his or her experience. Sometimes the practice is going smoothly, uh, but this over eagerness to have more better experience that spoils, and then the practice is not as smooth because of this uh, slight greed that arises for better experiences. So that's why, as a yogi, our teachers always remind us there should not be any expectation. You just have to note the presently rising object. Don't be expecting good experiences. If you are expecting good experiences, then it also is a threat to the practice. The last, Apanatan Chaitam Pyabhada Nupatita. Panata mind is when the yogi wants to give up the practice. So if he or she has been practicing over for such some time, and if the yogi tends to think that he or she is not progressing, then there arises being discouraged, being depressed and upset. So if one notices such kind of mind arises in oneself, one should be aware and one should note it. So if you feel depressed, note it depressed. If you feel upset, note it upset. If you feel discouraged, note it discouraged. And then go back to the primary object, presently arising object, rising, falling, or sitting, touching, and so on. But the thing is, as a yogi, one should not get discouraged. One should not be comparing experiences and also not to be judging his or her experience. If one is judging one's practice, it's also a waste of time. As a yogi, there is no time for judging. What the yogi has to do is keep on being mindful of the presently arising object. That's one and only duty of the yogi. One and only duty of the yogi is to keep on noting the presently rising object. That's what that's what it needs to be done. Not to be judging. Because even though the yogi might think his or her practice is not good, but in fact it may be okay. There are certain uh, experiences that doesn't seem good, but as long as yogi is able to note the presently arising object, yogi is doing okay. As long as you can note the object without missing, without failing. So what otherwise Yadaji say is that whether a yogi is progressing or not is a matter of whether the yogi is able to note presently arising object one after another, moment by moment, second by second, being mindful every single second without missing, without failing. And Saraji says, if the yogi is able to note the object without missing, without failing, every single second, one after another, then it is said yogi is progressing. But it's a matter of saying, but at the time you are practicing, do not be thinking whether you are progressing or not. Just note the presently rising object that is there at the present moment. And Saraji always say, as a yogi, one should not be choosy. I want to note only this. I don't want to note that. He should not be choosy. Saraji said, whatever object that arises, whether good or bad, it doesn't matter whether the object is good or bad. What it matters is yogi should be mindful of it. Whatever object that comes obvious, yogi should note it. So in this way, whatever object that arises, good or bad, yogi has to note it in the way they really are, so that being able to note concurrently, moment by moment, one after another, yogi progresses in the practice when mindfulness and concentration are kept continuous, one after another, it will be stronger and stronger, and knowledge unfolds itself. So these tips will be useful for your practice as you are regular yogis. So in the practice, even if it is not in this retreat, in other retreats, you can also make use of these tips. So for today, it will be all for today. May you all be able to practice smoothly, happily, healthily, so that may you attain your goal in this very life. Sadhu,
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 sadhu.
sadhu.